is me, just in case you're new here and you're wondering, who's that lady talking on my device with the kippah and waving her hands around a lot? It's me, Rabbi Sarah Fort, Assistant Rabbi over at Congregation Beth Yeshurun here in Houston, Texas, because I know we've got folks from all over who like to join us for story time. It's great to be back. We have a wonderful story to read with really good pictures. We've got a blessing of our children, girls and boys. And we've got a very special kiddush, but more importantly, a very special motzi, because our motzi, our blessing over the bread, has to do with the book that we're going to read. Now, before I read our book, it's important to ask, and you can shout out your answer, you can type it in the comments, you can have your parents, your grandparents type it in the comments for you. Who here likes to eat bagels? I know, I do. And what kind of bagels do you like to eat? Does anyone like a good plain bagel? It's always very nice. There's egg bagels, there's pumpernickel and rye and everything, and salt bagels and everything, pumpernickel, rye, salt bagels. There's crazy combinations, delicious combinations of bagels that are out there. Now, has anybody ever had a jalapeno bagel? Now, jalapenos are a kind of chili, and they are pretty spicy, especially if you get the seeds. Very, very spicy, very strong in the mouth. So maybe if you like spicy food, you might like a jalapeno bagel. Who knows? Give it a shot if you haven't had one. And the reason I bring up jalapeno bagels is because that's the name of our book. It's called Jalapeno Bagels. And you see, even right first thing when you open the book, there's jalapenos, green, and some red chiles too, and also bagels. But if you look closely at the bagel, you can see, what kind of bagel do you think it is? I think it's a jalapeno bagel. Let's find out. What should I bring to school on Monday for International Day? I asked my mother. My teacher told us to bring something from our culture. You can bring a treat from the panaderia, she suggests. Panaderia is what Mama calls our bakery. Help us bake on Sunday, then you can pick out whatever you want. It's a deal, I tell her. I like helping at the bakery. It's warm there and everything smells so good. You ever smell baking bread or fresh baked cakes or fresh baked muffins? They smell really good. Now imagine if there's a whole store full of delicious smelling baked goods. Hungry just thinking about it. Early Sunday morning, when it's still dark out, my mother wakes me up. Pablo, it's time to go to work, she says. You have to wake up very early when you work at a bakery, like before the sun comes up. You're starting work super early. We walk down the street to the bakery. My father turns on the lights. My mother turns on the ovens. She gets out pans and ingredients for pan dulce. Pan dulce is Mexican sweetbread. I help my mother mix and knead the dough. She shapes rolls and loaves of bread and slides them into the oven. People tell her she makes the best pan dulce in town. Maybe I'll bring pan dulce to school, I tell her. So there she is making the pan dulce with Pablo. Next, we make empanadas de Calabaza, pumpkin turnovers. I'm in charge of spooning the pumpkin filling. Mama folds the dough in half and presses the edges with a fork. That's how you get those little lines, is because you press it. And if you press it, it keeps the filling, the stuff that's inside, from spilling out. But you got to cut two little lines in the top. That way the steam comes out. But the filling won't come out the top. She bakes them until they are flaky and golden brown. Some customers come to our bakery just for her turnovers, her empanadas. You can make all sorts of empanadas. There are sweet ones like these. There are savory ones, like with cheese. Tasty. There he is. There's Pablo helping with the filling. Maybe I'll bring empanadas de Calabaza instead. You'll figure it out, she says. Ready to make the chango bars? Chango means monkey man. Mama lets me pour in the chocolate chips and nuts. When she's not looking, I pour in more chocolate chips. That's fair. Would you pour in more chocolate chips to make chango bars or anything? I know I would. I could bring chango bars. They're my favorite dessert. Mine too, Mama says. This batch should be especially good. I put in extra chips. Oh, so she put in extra chips, and he put in extra chips. They're gonna be really good. They look really good. My father calls from the back room. Pablo, come help me with the bagels. Papa speaks English and Yiddish. He learned Yiddish from his family in New York City. I know some words too. Bubby means grandmother. He uses my Bubby's recipe to make the bagels. First, he makes the dough in a big metal bowl. Then he rolls it into a long rope shape. See? He cuts off pieces and shows me how to connect the ends in a circle. We put the circles on trays where they sit and rise. That means you give them some time and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. See, there they are rolling and they're pinching them ends together to make them into a bagel shape. While we're waiting, my father makes challah, Jewish braided bread. He lets me practice braiding challah dough at my own counter. It's a lot like braiding hair. The customers say it is almost too beautiful to eat. Almost. Maybe I'll bring a loaf of challah to school, I tell Papa. He smiles. When the bagel dough has risen, he boils the bagels in a huge pot of water and fishes them out with a long, slotted spoon. I sprinkle on poppy seeds and sesame seeds, and then they go in the oven. Maybe I could bring sesame seed bagels with cream cheese. No lox? Lox is smoked salmon. My father's favorite bagel is pumpernickel with a smear of cream cheese and lox. I crinkle my nose. Lox taste like fish. Jam is better. Do you like lox? Or do you prefer maybe cream cheese or jam? A lot of people like lox. I don't think I'm one of them. But I like that other people like it. My mother joins us and helps my father making another batch of bagels, jalapeno bagels. My parents use their own special recipe. Mama chops the jalapeno chiles. She tosses them into the dough and adds dried red peppers. We roll, cut, make circles, let them rise. I can't wait until they're done because I am getting hungry. See? Bagels. The chiles. Put them together. Jalapeno bagels. Have you decided what you're going to bring to school? Asked Mama. It's hard to choose. Everything is so good, I tell her. I look at Papa, except for lox. Sometimes I think lox is kind of a grown-up flavor. Except I don't really like it. But a lot of grown-ups do. A lot of kids like lox too. I don't know. I think it's kind of all over the place. You should decide before we open, warns Mama, or else our customers will buy everything up. It's true. The first time I tried to get jalapeno bagels, there were none left. So I had to go back the next day. I walk past all the sweetbreads, chongo bars, bagels. I think about my mother and about my father and all the different things they make in the bakery. Remember, he has to find something for International Day at his school, something that represents his culture. He's having a hard time figuring out which one is his culture. Suddenly, I know exactly what I'm going to bring. Jalapeno bagels, I tell my parents, and I'll spread them with cream cheese and jam. Why jalapeno bagels? Asks Papa. Because, I say, they are a mixture of both of you, just like me. Right? His father is Jewish and Ashkenazi, and his mother is Mexican, and he figured, what is the best food that represents all those things? Because I'm all those things, and that's how we decided on a jalapeno bagel. And that's why it's our book. Because it's a good book, and it's about food, and it's Jewish. Most of us, I would say almost all of us, are made up of lots of different parts. We come from long lines of people, and they don't always look exactly like each other, or speak the same languages as each other, or have the same customs or traditions as each other. But we are made up of all those parts. And it's a good thing, because they combine and they make something wonderful, and sometimes delicious, like a jalapeno bagel. So before we kiddush and motzi, I want to do a blessing over all of our children. It's been so long, unless you've been tuning in on Friday nights to our main service. We actually do it there. But this is the first time I've done it here in a long time. So over all of our girls, if you are an adult and you are with a little girl, and she will allow you to, or sit still long enough, you can put a hand on her head. If you are a girl and you're watching this and you would like to, you can give yourself a hug or put a hand on your own head. And over all of our girls, I will say, Yisimech Elohim, Kesera, Rivka, Rachel, V'Leah, may God make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And over all our boys, if you are there with a little boy, if you're a parent or a grandparent of a little boy, or if you yourself are the little boy and you would like to give yourself the blessing, that's cool too. Just put a hand on your head, give yourself a hug, whatever you'd like. And over all of our boys, we'll say, Yisimcha Elohim, Ke'Ephraim Mechem Menashe, may God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And over all of our children, so if you're by yourself, give yourself a hug. If you're with a bunch of other kids that you come into contact with regularly, give each other a hug. Or if you're there with your parents or your grandparents, big group hug, big group hug. Even if you're a single person by yourself, you can do a big group hug. And over all of our children, we'll say, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God give you the blessings God gives all of God's children, which is all of us, regardless of where we are, how old we get. The most special blessing of all we thank God for, which is that of peace. Shalom. And let us all say, Amen. Now, it's Kiddush time. But first, before we do our bread, we have to say the blessing over our grape juice or wine. So if you have real grape juice or wine, well, if you have wine, you better be over the age of 21. I have grape juice, personally. It's delicious. If you have real, you can hold it up. If you have pretend, you can definitely hold it up, because it can be whatever you'd like it to be. That's kind of nice. Whatever color, whatever shape, Kiddush cup. So there's an advantage to pretend also. So over all of our wine/grape juice, we will say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Let me hear you say, Amen. And for our motzi, as promised, you can use whatever you'd like. So if you have challah, you should use challah. If you have pita, use pita. If you have hot dog buns, you can use hot dog buns. I have, as promised, a jalapeno bagel. You can actually see the little bits of jalapeno in it. You see that? They actually have, this one only has green chiles in it, but it's a darker bagel. This is from New York Bagel. So these are great kosher bagels you can buy right here in Houston or wherever you are. I'm sure you could try to find jalapeno bagels. And you can see the jalapenos, and you can I opened one earlier, and when you cut it open, it really does smell like jalapeno. Give it a sniff. It smells like jalapeno, right? Right? Totally does. And so I will be doing our motzi, over a jalapeno bagel. Whatever you have, you should use. And if you have something pretend, you could even pretend like you have a jalapeno bagel. But you also could pretend like it's any kind of bread you want. And over our bread, or bagels, we will say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. It really does taste like jalapeno. Thank you so much for joining me for jalapeno bagels. Both the book and the food. Is it spicy? Oh, it's a little spicy. It's not the kind of spicy where you're like, it's not that bad. You get to get the flavor. Thank you for joining me for the book Jalapeno Bagels, for the eating of jalapeno bagels, which you can definitely buy right here in town at New York Bagel if you'd like. And it's great to be back. We have really great stuff for families with kids, especially around your age. Fridays at 5 p.m. we advertise it. You can find it right on our website. It's free and open to everybody, and it's a great way to kind of just start Shabbat. And even if you can't be in the same room as your grandparents, or you can't watch it at the same time, it's nice to be able to do the same thing all together. So I'm really glad that we got to do this together. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, enjoying whatever foods it is your family enjoys for Shabbat, whatever places those foods come from. I hope you enjoy them, and they bring warmth to your life and light to everyone that you love. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful